Okay, so let us understand today ADO.NET. Now, ADO.NET stands for ActiveX Data Object Network Enabled Technology. That is a full form of the ADO.NET. So it's simple: ActiveX Data Object Network Enabled Technology. Now what we're going to learn today, first before we implement the ADO.NET, we try to understand few basics of a database application. So now we learn a language. Basically, let's say we talk about a C or C++ or Java. Generally, we learn a language starting from learning basics like variables, data types, arrays, functions, and every end of the language you'll be learning some database interaction programs. Like, if you talk about C, we use file systems, C++ file systems, Java you might have used or JDBC. Some concept we learn through which we can store some database in the form of a text file, in the form of a database management software like an Oracle or maybe SQL Server. So now ultimately we are learning a language to develop various kinds of applications. Now what kind of applications I can develop? I can develop console applications, window applications, web applications, security applications, chat applications, social media applications. There are many kinds of applications that we can develop. But if we talk about the old programming languages, they were very much limited to various types of applications. Like C language cannot be used to develop all the type of applications, maybe not with C++, but when you talk about Java or .NET, it's a common platform through which I can design, develop and deploy any kind of application. That could be console, window, web, social media or security or chat applications, any kind of applications we can develop. In that manner, we have a database application. So in .NET also, we can develop some database applications. So when we talk about a database application, you must have seen some database applications somewhere like in a railway station complex or a bus pass complex, or wherever you must have seen, or basically must have seen in a bank also. Some application they are running to store the customer details, their the account details and so on. So basically we have a lot of database applications. So when I talk about a database application, generally we have two parts. We generally say it's front end, or also it is referred by application layer. Now when we talk about a backend, the second part is a backend. The backend or the database layer. I mean, we can have many kind of layers, but the minimum number of layers that any database application would have will be a front end or an app layer and a backend or a database layer. Now when I talk about a front end, what is exactly a front end? Always a front end or the application layer is the end user interface, or we can think about like GUI. For example, now we take yahoo.com. It's a web application where we store the information about certain customers along their mailboxes and everything. So when I type yahoo.com, when you enter, I get a home page. What does that home page contain? It contains some controls to log in, log out, some images or whatever. So what we observe here, the end user screens, or we say end user interfaces, or the web forms or the window forms or mobile forms, whatever, the layer through which the customer will start working with our product. Suppose now we have a product, let's say, now we have a product, let's say yahoo.com or say maybe facebook.com. There are many kinds of web applications. Now in these web applications, the customer will start interacting through some screens. Those screens are called front end or application layer. So very simple, front end of a database application developed under Windows environment, web environment or mobile environment. The screens, the end user screens or the forms through which my customer will start interacting to my product is exactly referred by a front end or app layer. Now in the app layer or the front end layer, what we try to do, we try to give some input. For example, login screen is there. So I give username, I give password and try to log in. So when I try to log in, I will be passing data to a certain layer. I mean, I am passing data through the screen, and that data has to be stored somewhere in the database. So the database can be Oracle, it can be Access, it can be simple text file or Excel sheet or various kinds of data storage activities can be there. So ultimately backend or database layer is a layer where the data is stored or data is retrieved. Now I want to get the data of all the student, all the employees or everything, that I can get it from backend. So backend or database layer is the layer where my data is stored or retrieved. That is the basic two-way flow. So stored or retrieved. Now, so that is the first thing. We got idea about what is a front end, what is a back end. Always remember, the front end is developed using languages like C, C++, Java, maybe C Sharp or ASP.NET or many kind of languages we can count. So we cannot develop front end or app layer through a database software like an Access or a SQL Server or something else. But when we talk about backend or database layer, the backend or database layer is developed using a DBMS. I mean a database management software. So that can be Oracle, that can be SQL Server, it can be Access, Paradox, Sybase, DB2, many database softwares we use it. So simple understanding, front end is developed using only languages and backend is developed only using database management softwares that includes Oracle, SQL Server, Access or something else. That is an overview about a database application. Now we have understood what is database application and what are the components of database application. Now let us understand database access mechanisms. Means what exactly? For example, now I have an app layer. I have a screen designed. The design is, let's say, login page. So login page is my screen, let's say. So from the screen I'm giving data. Now it has to, now this is my app layer and this is my database layer, let's say. So where my database is in, let's say, SQL Server. So now you have an app layer and you have a database layer. Now initially the app layer is independent to database layer. App layer is having all web forms, blank web forms, in that no data is yet transferred. Whereas database layer is having just the schema of the database, like it might have some tables, it might have some stored procedures or triggers and so on. Now the app layer will have only just the end user screens that may be designed in Windows form or that may be designed in web forms or anything else. So now these two are now independent. Now we need a connection, we need a bridge that would communicate the app layer and database layer. Whatever I input in the application layer, it has to pass through database and it has to store in database layer. Directly it cannot be pushed. So we need a bridge or we need a driver. See, what is the purpose of a driver? Basically, driver in the general world, driver will take you from one place to other place. So we need a driver or we need a bridging mechanism that would connect to an app layer to database layer, and that is referred by database access mechanism. So database access mechanism or database drivers are the mechanisms through which I can bridge an application layer to a database layer. That is the main purpose. So ADO.NET is one of them. So ADO.NET is one of the database access mechanism, or we say database drivers that would connect an application layer to a database layer through data bus. So now we belong to this current generation, so we are learning ADO.NET. But if you are into industry little earlier, before ADO.NET, there were many other drivers been followed. Since 95, there were many kinds of drivers came into the market. The latest, overall 20 years of industry, they have changed the types of drivers. Microsoft database drivers are categorized into 5 categories. The first one is native API driver. The second one is the ODBC driver. So now the third one is actually, one second, yeah. Now the next one is the DAO drivers, and next is ADO, next is ADO.NET. So now if you come back to my handout, I have just mentioned all the types of drivers over here. The first one is native API driver. So Microsoft started the database drivers to native API driver. For example, now what are native API drivers mechanism? Now let us say there is a company working for a project working with, let's say, initially with VB and Oracle. So what do you mean by API, application programming interfaces? It's nothing but basically collection of some classes and interfaces that we use it. For example, now I want to calculate the square root of a number. In .NET what we are doing, math class we are using, math dot square root. Okay, so we are dependent on certain library or an API. That is actually an API. So now, if suppose I am developing a product in VB and Oracle, so there will be an API. Let us say we are calling a method called, in that API there is a method called, just assume it as connect VB Oracle. So if I develop a product in Microsoft technology like VB and connecting to a database called Oracle, then I need to call a method called connect VB Oracle. Now, if my company is working with VB and let us say SQL Server, then I should use a different method, VB SQL. So what is happening when the drivers, the native API drivers are specific to a database or specific to technology. Okay, now you want to connect Java to SQL, let's say, then you have to use a different API, something called connect Java and SQL. So what is actually happening in the Microsoft native API drivers? The drivers are native to a technology. I mean, if the company is using VB and Oracle, for that they use a different library. For VB and SQL, a different library. For Java and SQL, a different library. So what is happening? The libraries have become now specific in nature. They're native in nature. What is the advantage? What is the disadvantage of these drivers? These were very old drivers, somewhere in 80s Microsoft was using. So what is the advantage? What is the disadvantage? The advantage of native API driver, they are the quickest database drivers. They are the quickest database access mechanisms, or they are the quickest database drivers to connect to any technology because they are specific. They are connecting directly. What is the drawback of it? The drawback of this native API driver is being specific to a technology. If the company decides that my product throughout 100 years will be only in VB and Oracle, then it is a perfect option. But we know that as a new technology comes into the market, as the new technology come into the market, the VB, suppose now initially my product is on VB and Oracle. So when I start my product using VB and Oracle, I will use this API. Now after some time, the industry demands that your product should be shipped to VB and SQL. I mean, initially your company designed a product on VB and Oracle. Okay, so you are using connect VB Oracle and have written lot of code. Now suddenly after 5-6 years, the company decided that let us change our product from VB Oracle to VB SQL. Then what will happen? You need to use a different API. I mean, from the scratch you have to write the new code. I mean, the moment when you're changing your technology, there is no scope of copying the old code. The only way is to go with a new fresh code. That is the biggest problem of native API driver. So the first type of Microsoft drivers in the market, or first type of database access mechanisms in the market, were native API drivers. They were specific to a technology. I mean, they are having a specific API. As the technology changes, the API will change. The advantage is what? They are the quickest drivers in the market because they connect directly to a native database. The biggest drawback or the cons of the native API drivers were when the technology is changing for the same product, the code has to be recoded. That was the biggest headache for the industry. So they wanted a change. They wanted a change in the market. So then after 5-6 years, the industry, Microsoft, introduced ODBC drivers. ODBC drivers means Open Database Connectivity Drivers. Now what is the advantage of this? What they changed actually? What they did, irrespective of what was the problem, when the technology changing, this specific API was changing. I mean, VB Oracle is changing to VB SQL to Java SQL. So they don't want to have such kind of APIs. They wanted a generic API. So native API drivers were specific API drivers. But when we talk about ODBC drivers, they are generic database drivers. So when we see VB Oracle, VB SQL, Java SQL, there will be no more connect VB Oracle. There will be just connect. For VB SQL, connect. For Java SQL, connect. So what is the advantage you are having now? The advantage is what? I have a generic API. Irrespective of the technology changing from front end or back end, I will be using connect only. So what is the advantage you get over here? The advantage is we don't have a headache of writing fresh code every time. Suppose I develop my product initially with VB Oracle. After 6 months, I want to convert it to VB SQL. I can do it happily because I have to just change the database name. Or if I want to change the technology, I have to change on the front end technology. So always whenever I use ODBC drivers for each technology, it becomes very easy to navigate or ship a product from one technology to other technology. When ODBC drivers was doing fine, then what went wrong with these drivers? When everything is plus of ODBC, we can carry on, right? But the problem started over here. The problem was here. The thing is, like, this native API driver and ODBC drivers were working around somewhere 80s. In around 80, object oriented programming was very famous in the market, like C++, Java just started. Of course, .NET, Microsoft introduced object orientation in early 20s, but the Sun Technologies have already introduced the concept of Java, and earlier open source technologies like C++ was in the market. So everyone started liking object, class, constructor, inheritance, polymorphism, everything. So they don't want the libraries in the form of header files. The old style of library files for what, like C and C++, they have the library like header files, but they were used to now classes and constructors. So they wanted one object oriented or object based type of drivers. So what Microsoft did, they made object based generic driver. They maintained the generic driver, but they converted the generic drivers into object based programming generic drivers. So object based generic drivers were introduced in the market. So DAO stands for data access object, ActiveX RDO, data access object, and remote database object. So actually what happened now, they changed the generic drivers which were successful in the second generation, and they converted into object based architecture. Now not object oriented, they were object based architecture. Now, so everything was fine. Then what is the problem with even the DAO drivers to move to the next generation? The problem was the first native API driver, the second generation ODBC driver, or the third generation DAO or RDO drivers were having one simple problem. What is the simple problem is, always the programmers were storing data only in database management softwares, like even the first generation, second generation, third generation database generation drivers were storing data in the form of Oracle, in the form of SQL Server, in the form of Access only. I mean, they feel that the data can be stored only in database softwares only. But nowadays, what happened, when the more of internet came into picture, the data was stored in different forms. My data can be stored in Excel sheet, my data can be stored in notepad, it can be stored in images, it can be stored in emails or social media data. So we want to, the data storage techniques were changed. So to overcome that problem, ADO was introduced. It was introduced in the year 96, ActiveX Data Object. ADO stands for ActiveX Data Object. So when we talk about ActiveX Data Object, it is a generic API which is object based, but it is generic API, object based API, and it can connect to a data source. We say data source. Here native API will connect a front end to database server. ODBC connect to database server. DAO can connect only to database server. These three people cannot connect to a notepad, cannot connect to Excel sheet, cannot connect to some other emails. But ADO database driver can help a programmer to connect to a data source. Now data source can be database management software. It can be a notepad, it can be Excel sheet, it can be, let us say, email. Now if you take the JNTU website, the data is stored in the form of an Excel sheet. So we insert the data, update the data, delete or view the data in the form of an Excel sheet. So ADO and Microsoft, after discovering ADO database driver, it declared himself like we no further will declare any other database drivers. But what happened in the early 2000, Microsoft introduced .NET. So what they did, they converted the ADO driver to object oriented. ADO was what? ActiveX Data Object was a generic API which was based on object based programming, and it can connect to data source. So what they did, ADO.NET is generic, but this time object oriented. They converted the object based or object oriented that can connect a front end. What we discussed in the earlier of the session, front end connected to data source. So now how we define ADO.NET. Now ADO.NET can be defined in many ways. Now ADO.NET is a database access mechanism that can connect a front end to a data source, where the data source can be a database management software like Oracle, SQL Server, Sybase, Paradox, DB2. This is one way. Other way we can define ADO.NET is also a database driver which can connect a front end to a data source that can be a database management software, it can be Notepad, it can be Excel or something else. Or also it can be defined as ADO.NET is a sub-framework of .NET that helps a programmer to connect a front end to a data source that includes database management software like Oracle, maybe SQL, maybe Access and so on. Or it can be Notepad, it can be Excel sheets, it can be an email database. That is how we need to understand about ADO.NET, ActiveX Data Object Network enabled technology. So how to use it? Now ADO.NET we have to go through step by step. Now in ADO.NET we'll be using a namespace. What is the namespace? We're going to use it system.data.sql client. But here you should understand something called ADO.NET manage providers. Now there are many kind of databases in the market. So what Microsoft did after discovering ADO.NET is send information to all the database companies like Oracle, maybe Sybase, maybe Paradox, and said that I am releasing ADO.NET that will make you help to connect to various databases of your application. That was the main intention. So after doing that, Microsoft divided the total library into 4 parts. One is system.data.oracle client. So Oracle is the only one company who integrated with Microsoft to release their own software, that is system.data.oracle client. So I should use the name, if I am developing my software, I am developing a web application using .NET and Oracle, then I should use the library system.data.oracle client. If I am developing my product in .NET and SQL Server as we are doing, then we should connect system.data.sql client. If I am connecting to some other database, then system.data.odbc. So this is the third one. And if I am connecting not to any database server, I am connecting to Excel sheet, I am connecting to Notepad or something else, then I should use system.data.oledb, object linking embedding database. So there what Microsoft did, he divided into 4 categories. So system.data. So what you should do, first develop in your mind what application I am going to use, what classes I am going to use it. So first, if I am using Oracle software as a backend, then I should use this namespace system.data.oracle client. If you are connecting to SQL Server, system.data.sql client. If you are connecting to any other database, then it is system.data.odbc. But if you are not at all connecting to any database server and you are connecting to Notepad, Excel sheet, email or something else, then you go for object linking embedding databases. Now when I use this system.data.sql client, so what are the classes I will be using? I'll be using today some classes like console is a class, we have used math is a class, we have used the same way SQL connection class, SQL command class, SQL data reader class, SQL adapter class, SQL parameter class, SQL DB type class are the many types of servers we are going to classes we are going to use it. Every class has certain purpose. For example, now SQL connection. SQL connection class provides, it's a class. What a class will have, it will have some methods, it will have some properties and some interfaces if you want. So SQL connection is a class which will provide some methods, some properties, some states through which I can connect to a database. That is the main purpose. Okay. Now SQL command is the class which is responsible to execute a SQL query. See, in generally we create database to what? To store, to delete, to modify, to view. So we might be writing insert command, update command, delete command, select command. So someone should be a graduate who can understand SQL library. So that is SQL command class responsibility. Now SQL data reader is like a pointer. What a pointer will hold? It holds an address of certain location in C or C++. SQL data reader is like a pointer which will hold a set of data. Suppose I store the data of what an employee, let's say ID, and we have something called name. So we have 10 records, 20 records. The complete data is stored in the data reader through which we apply loops and get the data. And regarding adapter, SQL parameter, DB type, I'll explain when we do programming. Okay. So now, how we're going to learn, there is something called ADO.NET connected architecture and there is disconnected architecture. So when we talk about ADO.NET connected architecture, we'll be using only these classes: SQL connection, SQL command, SQL data reader will use it. In the disconnected data set, we'll use SQL connection, SQL command, and we use adapter. So that we'll talk later. So first we are going to learn now simple ADO.NET. Up till now it was theory. So now we will just concentrate on the practical part, how to do it. So a simple ADO.NET mechanism we are learning, the first type of learning of databases. Okay. The first step, that it's already there in my handout, I'm just repeating it over here. The first step is create a database in SQL Server. The first step, create the database in SQL Server. Let the database name be, let us say, sales. If you want, we'll just write it sales. Second step, create a table by name product with the fields PID, integer type, and primary key with it. You should not take duplicate values, and product name of, say, varchar of, let's say, 50 characters or let's say 19 characters. This is my structure. So let us write the syntax for it. Create table, table name, or the table name product. Now I want to have the fields. So I have two fields. One is ID, one is name. That is the second step. So I will just write here the product ID, integer, and you can just say primary key over here. So primary key, and that is the first. Next we have product name and varchar of 19. Okay, this is the first create table. Now what we'll do, we will just copy this table and keep it ready. Now connect to SQL Server. So when I connect to SQL Server, you have to give what? I am connecting to server. So I should give server name as dot or computer name and say connect. Now my database is about to be created. In the databases, I have so many databases over here. So I will just delete the sales database which is already existing. So let me delete the sales database and we'll create fresh. So the database existing is deleted. Okay, now create, right click, new database. Now in the new database you give sales name and click OK. So now the sales database is over here. Now sales is having database objects like tables. It will have programmability objects like stored procedures. We'll write later stored procedures. Now first we go with tables. So tables, you can create new table by wizard, but I suggest you have to go with text base. So database, right click, new query. So don't be lazy, you have to type it through new query window. So what we did, sales, right click, new query, this window has come. Now in this you need to create the product table. So just say create table product and you come back to this here, paste it here and just say execute. So command successfully executed. You just come here, tables, right click, refresh. So your table is ready. Product, it has columns and it has the columns like product ID and product name, and keys if you want to check primary key. Consider nothing is written, so it is blank. So product is my table created. Okay. Now we need to understand. Okay, now we'll just write a command, select star from product if some data is available. As of now, no data is available. Select this part only and say execute. You'll get no data, but okay. So let's keep it ready. My database part is over. The first two steps are completed. My table is ready. As of now, data is empty, but I have to insert the data, delete the data, modify data to programming. So what we'll do now, we'll just finish the two steps over here. Now let us create a folder in somewhere D drive, and let's say new folder. Let us say ADIO Windows. Let's say ADIO Windows. Okay, so under D colon there is a folder called ADIO Windows. So in this we will be going to create all the programs. So let us start the studio. So file, new project. So this time we'll be using Windows application that we learnt yesterday. So C#, you select Windows Forms application. Now in this you create one folder in D drive. Already it is D drive. What is the folder in D drive? You browse it. In D drive, ADIO Windows is there. So it will be stored in Indo videos, but here you create another folder, or you can just say here ADIO say underscore simple. Okay, first one, because simple ADIO.net, right? So ADIO underscore simple. So now what is going to happen in our application? ADIO D colon ADIO Windows update is created by name ADIO simple. So that ADIO simple is there. Now we close the forms for some time. Okay. The next step what you need to do here is you need to add app.config file, application.configuration file. So you need to configure your database. Already it is there. If you're using an old version, maybe Visual Studio 2008 or 2010, then what you need to do, this won't be there, app.config. For that you need to right click, add, and you select new item, and from there you need to select the application configuration file, app. You find it, application configuration file, app config, but it's already there for you, app.config. So you don't need to add it if you're using the latest studios. So now double click app.config, and here what you need to do in the configuration section, you have to use what is app.config. It is an XML file which will help us to set some settings related to Windows operating system, related to graphics, related to audio, something like database. So now I'm applying connection string. So what I'm trying to do, I'm going to configure my database. See, we know that there's a database by name sales, and we also know there's a table called product, but the application doesn't know. For that we need to set it. So we should use connection strings. Now connection strings is a collection of all the database connection strings. So in that first string you add and just say name. You can give CS sales, and then you give connection string. Now connection string specify 3 parameters. You should remember. Okay, you can give any name here, but CS sales why I am writing, so that connection string sales. Now connection string. Now connection string specifies 3 parameters. One is data source, data space source. Okay. Now data space source is the server name. Now data space source, when we talk data space source, it can be in 3 ways. First, if your database server that you are working is installed in one single laptop or single machine or single laptop, then you should give what? Computer name, or you can use dot. Okay. If it is connected to a LAN, suppose 10 systems are connected to a server. So suppose it is connected to a LAN server, then what I should give? Data source IP address of my server machine. Next, if I am connecting on internet, suppose my site is running live on internet, Then what I should give the data source name? I should give the IP address of my website. Every website will have a IP address. This is where it is the first parameter. So I am connected to laptop. I am connected to one single machine. So what I should give? I should give computer name, or I can give dot. So what I'll do now, dot means computer name. So I'll give dot. Then I put a semicolon. Next, the second parameter is initial catalog. Initial catalog means the database name to which you are about to connect. So I'm going to connect to which database? Not the table, the database name. See, sales is a database and one of the tables among them is product. So we should give the database name. What is the database name? Sales. So initial catalog represents the database name to which you are connected. Next, the final thing is security, or we say authentication. How authentication is happening? Is it through Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication? If you are using Windows authentication, I am using Windows authentication. So I will use integrated. You should also use integrated security equals to true. Suppose if you are having SQL Server authentication, then you should give UID and password, username, password. But we are using Windows authentication, the job is done. So my third step is finished. My third step, I have configured the initial catalog, and that is your database name, that is sales, and I've used the authentication as integrated security. This is also fine. Now the fourth step. Now you need to create a helper class. Add a class by name. Any name you can give, but generally we give it as helper because this class is going to help us to get this connection string. Okay, now let us close this app.config file. The third step is finished. Now we need to move on to fourth step, that is add a class by name helper. So just right click and just say add a new class, and you have to just write it here, the class name helper. So just write helper class. Now in the helper class, I want to write a string property. You know how to write properties, right? So public static. Why I'm using static? Because I don't want to create an object. If I don't do static, what will happen? I should declare helper h equal to new helper h dot some method you have to call it, or some property you have to call it. But without declaring the object, if you want to call something, that is a concept of static. I taught in object orientation. So what I do now, static, public static we can use, and I want to return a string type, and you say my connection string. You can give any name, but I'm just writing my connection string. It's a property. So property can be, I said, read only, write only, read and write only. But I want to make this property as read only property. So read only property means no one should override my connection string. So read only property, I'm going to use it. So what I'm going to use, read only means only get. I will not write set. So I'll write what? Return. Okay. Now system dot what we call we use system dot what is that, app dot config, system dot configuration manager will come. That's not coming. Why it is not coming? Because you need to add one more step. So what you need to do here, before adding the helper class, what you do is you can just add a reference. Add a reference of configuration file. So system dot configuration file. So you have to write system dot web dot configuration. So configuration file. So if you see the references, you don't have any system dot configuration. System dot configuration is not there. So what you do, right click reference, add a reference. In the reference, you will find here system dot configuration. System dot configuration you're finding. You just click on it and just say OK. So now you write here. So now system dot configuration has come over here. Now you write system dot configuration manager. You have to remember this all. If you write 3-4 times, it will be in your mind. So system dot configuration manager dot, you have to use connection strings, and connection strings you should give the name of the connection string. Where is the connection string you have mentioned? You have mentioned in the app.config. You go here. What is the name you have given? CSC. sales. That should be same. So you write it here, the CS sales, the connection string name dot is a connection string. So what does it is going to return? Actually by writing system dot configuration manager dot connection strings of CS sales dot connection string, it is going to return what? It is going to return this string. What is the string? Data source equal to dot initial catalog equal to sales integrated security equal to true. This string will be returned by this property. For that purpose we are writing. So my fourth step is also completed. Next we move on. So we have completed 5 steps total. So till now we have just created a database by name sales with a table called product, and it has 2 fields, ID and name, and you have something called app.config data source and catalog and authentication you have done. So add a reference of configuration, add a class by name helper. Okay, this is done. Now we will write we'll just design the GUI. Okay, now let us go to the studio and now let us create the first program. First program is just to connect to database. So let's say add a new form. So let us say a new window form. You can just say frm underscore connect to SQL. This program is not to insert, it is to just connect and disconnect this program. So now my form is connect to SQL. This is there. You can delete this form, otherwise leave it other form. Okay. Now what I want is, in this program I want to just place a button and just click on button. I should get a message connection established or not established. So this is my button. So first thing what I should do, for everything control we give the names. So just I give it as btn underscore connect, let's say. Now let us give a text matter for it. You can just say connect to SQL and enter. So now this is my connect to SQL. Now we will write the code on click of it. So connect to SQL click. So now we will write the ADO.NET code. So next step is what? You have to, 7th step is to write ADO.NET code to implement. Okay. Now we have seen exception handling, right? So in exception handling what we do? We give try tab. So now the exception is over here, say EX and just say remove this and write the message MB tab. We just write here message box and you write here message box error. So error you can give and error message you write it EX dot message. So how do you write it? EX dot message. So try tab will give the complete structure and message box gives the error. Okay, this is the first step. Second, next step what you should do is we should use the namespace. So what is the namespace we are using? Using system.data.sql client. Why using SQL client? Because I am connecting to SQL server. Next, declare the objects over here. What are the classes I am going to use? I am going to use SQL connection class. Now this fellow is responsible to connect to SQL server. There is another class SQL command. In this not required. In this program we are going to use only SQL connection. Just we are interested to connect and disconnect. So this is a reference variable. It's not an object yet. Now we will use the connection object. How to use the connection object? Con equals to new SQL connection. Con dot connection string. Where is my connection string actually? It is in my helper class. In the helper class we have written a property called my connection string that will return the value from here. So what I am going to use now? Do I need to declare the object of helper class? Not required. Why? Because helper is having static methods. Static methods do not require object to be called upon. That we have learnt in object orientation. So helper dot you have my connection string property. Next you say con dot open and you can write a message MB tab and you just say connection established. This is the first program. But now actually you can write here con dot close. It will close the connection. Con dot close will close the connection. But what I am trying to use here is I am going to use a finally block. What is a finally block? Exception may or may not occur. but it will execute. See, the try catch may or may not have errors, but still it is going to execute. So actually I can finish here con dot close, the program will work. But suppose I forgot to write that statement, then how to close it? We just write if the con dot state equals, you have connection state dot open. I am checking whether the connection is still open. If the connection is still open, then you can just write con dot close. Now you can just write con dot close. It will close the connection and give a message that connection is closed. So the same two lines you can write it here also, but you can better you write it over here, connection closed. That's the simple program. The first program is very simple, just to establish a connection with it. So Control Shift B. Now there are two forms over here. One is form 1, one is form connect to SQL. When you run, for your bad luck, it will run only form 1. But you want to run the form second one. How to do the changes? You have to come to program.cs and here you remove this new form 1. Yesterday we discussed this all. Now you have to select FRM connect to SQL. This is the form name you have to, so which is the current form that you mention over here through constructor open and close bracket, that will run. So now I'll run the application. So now I'm getting the second form open. So now just say connect to SQL. And now I'm getting a message connection established. Now connection closed. Okay. Now we have this option already. Now we will go with the next form. So now I want to write insert program. So I have two fields. So right click, add a new item, and you can just say form. You can just say FRM underscore say product add. So I have a screen now called product add. So now what is the first thing I should do? I should create the screen, the GUI or application layer. So I'll use toolbox. I'll use the label, first one. This is the first label, and the next label I want to place it. Then I want to go with the text boxes. So select the text boxes. And now this is the first text box. To duplicate it, control drag. I'll get the second text box that we discussed yesterday. And next we need to go with the button. So this is my button. So I have my two labels, two buttons, two text box and buttons. Now let us give the names properly. So let us go with first the label. Here I want it text, simple. You just name it as product ID, and this comes product ID. Next we go with the text, and you just write it here product name. Now this is my text box. For the text box we just give a name attribute. So we just say txt underscore product ID. This is txt. We can just have txt underscore product name. So we have t name. And this is my button, and the button name you can have btn underscore, let us say add, and you can just scroll down and you set the property text property to say add product you want to give it. So now we have this add product screen ready. So my GUI is ready to add the product. So now where I should write the code? On the click of add product. First thing what you should do, try tab twice. The first thing we should do it, otherwise errors cannot be rectified. Next you have to just write mb tab, you will get the message box, or you can type it message box dot show and just say error, and you just display the error message, that is simple ex dot message. Now the next thing what you should do, you should go for the namespace. Same steps we will follow using system dot data dot SQL client. So now let us introduce the first class, that is SQL connection, and just say con. So let us implement the con object first. So what I should do now, the code will be same, con equals to new SQL connection. Don't create new projects for insert, update, delete separate. If you create separate programs, separate projects, then what will happen? Again you have to add the reference, again you have to do the app.config, again you should write helper class. So all the programs should be placed in one project only. So con equal to new connection, con dot connection string. is actually helper class dot my connection string. Now con dot open, this is the next string. Now connection part is over. Next thing is what? I want to insert the data. My data is in the text box. In the text box, it has to be taken and sent to the database. How to do that? For that, we need to introduce one more class, SQL command. SQL command is a class which is responsible to execute the SQL commands. So for that, what I should do? cmd equals to new SQL command. cmd dot connection. Which is the active connection we are using con, the variable. So just set the connection to the command, binding the connection to a command object. Now you should decide how am I sending my query. See, I am sending a query, right? Insert into blah blah whatever, write it. So I am sending as a text. So cmd dot command type will decide how I am sending my command type. I am sending as a text. After some time I'll teach you stored procedure. I mean probably in the second session. So now we are passing today, the first session we are passing the command type as a text. Next, cmd dot, what is the text you are sending? You decided that you are sending a text, a query. Where is a query? That is what we need to write it over here. So for that you need to write or declare a variable called string. You can just say my query, you can give any name, and here actually we need to write our query, and that my query will come over here. That is my query that has to be executed. Okay, now let us write string my query. Now first decide my query is dependent query or independent query. For example, select star from product. If I am writing a query that is not dependent on any text box or any buttons or anything, because it's not expecting anything. But if you take insert command, insert into product values of product ID, one is required. So product ID I am dependent on text box. Product name I am dependent on text box. So it is a dependent query. So what I'll do now, first I'll gather the data. So I'm dependent. First we should decide the query is dependent or not. So what I'll do now, I'll just gather the data. So where is my integer? I'll just use a naming convention, local PID. You can give anything. So local PID. Where is the local PID? It is an integer type. So int dot parse, and where is my database object? txt product ID dot text. So I'm taking the product ID dot text, converting into an integer. The next one is the name. So it is string type. So local underscore product name, local underscore product name equals to txt underscore product name dot text. Okay. Now what is the query I want to write it? So let us write a query first. So what is the sample query? We'll write it here. So how will write the sample query? You have to write it insert into the table name. What is the table name? Product. What are the values you have? You have the values. Suppose I give 19. I give say Pratty as a data, let's say. So now this is okay. Insert into product values. This 19 has to be replaced with this local product ID, and this Pratty has to be, only this letter has to be added with local product name. So how we are going to write it? So we'll just write insert into, we write insert into table name. What is the table name? Product. Next we have values, and you just write here first bracket open, 19 has to come. So 19 is where it is in the local PID. Can I write it local PID here? No, I should bind it. So this query will be binded plus local underscore product ID. So we just say local underscore, 1 minute. We just write it here local, enter PID plus then double quotes, comma, because what is happening here, 19 is replaced local PID, comma. So then you have to use single quote for characters or date data type. The character is string, so here you put semicolon plus local underscore product name. Now the product name will have plus and single quote, and don't give space like this. It has to be together like this. Close this and this way. So what you observe here now, insert into product values of, product of values of, bracket open, and this is replaced by 19. After 19, comma should come. After comma, single quote started, local product name, single quote closed, close bracket. This is my query. This will be a little tough initially to understand the query, so you have to be very much clear. Now my query is ready. It has to be executed now. To execute the query, what I should do now? CMD dot execute. Now there are three execute commands over here. One is execute non-query. There is something called execute non-query. Next we have execute. We have execute reader. We have execute scalar. The three things. So one is execute non-query. When we should use, when you are using DDL or DML, means create, alter, drop, insert, update, delete. If I'm using, then we will go for this one. And when we use execute reader or execute scalar, when you are using select keyword. Select means you're getting the data. So select can be given in two ways. Suppose I write a query, select star from product. So it will give a grid kind of data. Then I should use execute reader. Sometimes you get single value. You might use aggregate functions, something like select max salary from the employee, let's say. Then what will happen? Select max salary from the employee. Then we should use execute scalar. One single value will come. This is a group of values will come as execute reader. Okay. So what is the query I'm using? Insert query. So I should write cmd dot execute non-query. This is the first option. Then just write mb tab product added into database. You just say product added, and you can give a message con dot close. Connection has to be closed. So Control Shift B. Now my which form has to start? Connect product add form has to start. So I'll just come to program.cs, and the program.cs you can just write frm product add cs something. We have added. Okay, fine. Now Control F5. So now I'll get the screen to be added. So I'll give 19. I'll give priority. Let's say add product. So now what I'm getting a message, product added. Let me add another record, say 23, and let's say Sandy, add product, product added. Let me add two more records, 1923, let's say SP, product added. Then you get 2319, and let's say PS, and say add product, product added. So now product is added, but how to check it? You come back here, select star from product SQL server, execute, and you will find the 4 records are stored in the database perfectly. That is how we write a add product program. Now we will write a view program. So just we will write a view program. So for that what I will do now, right click, add, and a new item, and the new item is Windows form, and you just write here frm underscore, and you just say product view, means I want all the products to be displayed. So we go to any shopping malls or wherever, or billing centers, you just find there a grid Excel sheet kind of data, that is called data grid. So what you do, first select here the data option. There will be something called data. In the data controls, you have to select data grid view. So this is my data grid view control. You just drag it up. Now we have so many grid views. Now what is my requirement is, let us give the name of the grid as data grid, or let us say DG view underscore product, let's say. So data grid view product, let's say. Now where I want the code, I don't have any button to click. So what is my intention is, when the form is loaded, the moment I run the form, I want the data. So yesterday I explained, whenever you want to write something on the form load event, what I should do, I should double click on the form. So I'll get this form load event. Here you write try, tab, exception, ex. And what I'm suggesting is, don't copy paste the same line of code. You type as much you type, you'll get a better knowledge. Otherwise you'll forget the code. In the interviews, we thought they will not give machine and say to write the code. They'll say just write it on a single paper. So you should have each and every line in your brain. How it will come? The more you write, the more you type. So here message box error, as error message is coming. Now we will go over here. You will have using system dot data dot, you can just have SQL client, and we will use here SQL command cmd CMD SQL connection, of course, con. Okay, these two, let's first finish it up. So let's go with con. So con equals to new SQL connection. Con dot connection string equals to helper class. We have it dot my connection string. Con dot open. That's fine. Now we have to go for a query. So string, say my query. What is a query? Is it dependent, independent? It is an independent query. I'm just writing select star from the table name, that is product. So I don't want to have any gather data concept here. Next, the CMD object. CMD equals to new SQL command. CMD dot, you have the connection object, that is the con, and you have to pass how I am sending. So CMD command type, how am I sending my query? It is in the form of command type dot text. Next we have CMD dot command text, the text that I am going to send it. So command text is what? My query. This is my command object. So string connection object is there, and next is a command object. That's fine. CMD command text equal to my query. Now we have connection object and command object. Now we have to say, we have to use CMD dot execute reader. Why? Because select star from product will give a grid type of data. So I need the another class, that is connection oriented class, SQL data reader. Just say dr. Now you just write it here, data reader equals to, you just write CMD dot execute reader. So what it is going to happen? It is going to take the data and execute, take the query and execute it, and the data will be in the data reader. So now from the data, so from the database I am getting the data to data reader. From data reader it has to go to data grid. So how to do that? For that you should use using data reader, and using data reader you have to use a data table. Say dt equals to new data table. Data means small tabular data, and what you do, dt dot load the data reader into it. So what is happening here? From database it's coming to data reader, from data reader it is going to data table, from data table it is going to data grid view. What is the data grid view name? DGV name product dot data source equals to dt only. So simple logic you should understand here. I am writing a query that is executed. The data result is stored in data reader. So the data reader cannot be directly binded to data grid. So what we are doing, taking the data reader, from data reader we are binding it to data table, and this data table is binded to grid view. That's it. So your code is finished. Now let us run the program. For that I need to change the program.cs to product view. So let us come back here. You just say new frm underscore product view, and let's run it. So control F5. So when you run the control F5, you are finding the complete data on my grid view. This is how we write the view program.